You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this toke. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Morning, it's July the 6th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, your psychedelics and cannabis news source. Good morning, Rev Cindy. How are you doing on this fine Monday morning?
Good morning, Al. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Not too bad. You know, I can't complain. I'm sure you know how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, how was your weekend?
The weekend was pretty amazing, actually. Of course, started on Friday night with the movie that the Nova Scotia Psychedelic Society put on. Yeah, so that was pretty amazing. And we had a really great turnout. The board or the panel was really awesome. I got to sit on it. But we'll talk about more about that at the end of the show.
Okay, that sounds good. Talking about show, what we got today? We got 8 stories as usual. I got to remind everybody, like and share the program. Facebook sent me another notice. We're sorry, but you're no longer recommended. Yeah.
What was your weekend, Al? I didn't get a chance to ask you about your weekend.
My weekend? Let's see. What did I do? Well, on Saturday, we went to the Chrome on the Canal, which is a massive bike and car show in Campbellford. And just as we got there, the skies opened up and just come down and pouring rain. People were heading to wherever for cover. And I never got to see any cars.
Oh,
Well, I shouldn't really say that. I got to see cars because some people left because it was just pouring rain so hard. And so you see cars leave. But it did eventually stop. By then we had already left. We were soaked a little bit, right? So, yeah, there was a massive amount of cars. And my wife's, Gail, her family was there. She had relatives that were there with their cars.
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it was other than that, Sunday we just sat around and relaxed. Yeah.
Well, that's a good Sunday.
That's right. Yeah, do nothing. Gotta have those days, right?
That's true.
So, right. Well, we've got, as I mentioned, we got those 8 stories. So what do you say?
Might as well get going.
Let's get going.
Let's get going. Our first story today is coming to us from the Kingston Health Sciences Center. The Kingston Health Sciences Center Research Institute leads first ever Health Canada approved clinical trial of at-home microdose psilocybin. This is really exciting. I remember when they first got approval and we talked about this. Canadian researchers are breaking new ground with what is being described as the country's first Health Canada approved clinical trial examining at-home psilocybin microdosing. According to the Kingston Health Sciences Center, the study is being led by them, by the institute there, and will investigate whether carefully controlled microdoses of psilocybin can safely improve symptoms of depression in participants completing treatment from their own homes. The trial marks an important milestone because most psychedelic research to date has been focused on larger supervised doses administered in clinical settings. By contrast, this study is designed to examine the potential benefits of safety of repeated low doses, commonly known as microdosing, using a rigorous scientific protocol. Researchers hope the study will provide much needed evidence surrounding a practice that has become increasingly popular despite limited clinical data. While many people report improvements in mood, creativity, focus, and emotional well-being from microdosing, scientists have repeatedly emphasized that controlled research has struggled to keep pace with public interest. Health Canada's approval also signals increasing regulatory willingness to study psychedelic therapies through established scientific channels. The research team says the goal is to generate high-quality evidence that can help physicians, regulators, and patients make informed decisions in the future. If successful, the trial could help answer one of the biggest unanswered questions in psychedelic medicine, whether microdosing truly offers measurable therapeutic benefits, or whether many of the reported effects are driven by expectation and placebo. I'm really excited to hear the outcome of this particular study. It caught my attention when they got the approval, and now that they're getting ready to actually jump in, I'm just like goosebumps excited.
Yes, exactly. Geez, this is just an hour down the road for me. All the studies going on, and it'd be great to hear what the end result is. Now, I see that they're going to enroll 60 participants. Involves a 4-week treatment period, followed by either an extension of the treatment with another 4 weeks, or a placebo. They say participants will take the medication at home. Now, they also said that they are looking for people to get involved. People who have generalized anxiety disorder. So if you're in the area, they're seeking adults that are living with this. And there is a link in the story for that.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. If you take a look at the story, there is a link that you can just click on to contact them about participation.
And the link, just so you know, the story itself is on the Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News Facebook page. If you're interested in wanting to get involved and you don't know where that is, just send us a message and we'll send you the link.
Absolutely.
All right, that's great. I think it's fantastic. And as I mentioned before, I look forward to the results. So anything else on that?
I think we're good.
All right. From there, we're going to move on to the next story. This one here, it is coming to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference. Headline says global market for cannabis vape products is increasing. Now, according to the writer, he says that he'll never forget the first time they used cannabis vape pen cartridge. It was over 15 years ago when he was attending a cannabis industry event in Colorado, and it blew his mind. He said, how convenient was this? The vape pen cartridges were not nearly as common back then, but as they are today. But he says that he knows that for the first time since trying one all of these years ago, that vape pen cartridges would eventually become a top cannabis product in every legal cannabis market. And that's happening here as well in Canada. Vape pen cartridges are an ideal product for the emerging global cannabis industry, he says, because they have a longer shelf life compared to cannabis flower and take up very little space compared to many cannabis products. Their small size and longer shelf life make them much easier to ship, which is major consideration as the cannabis industry continues to spread internationally and regional legal markets become more connected. And in a recent newsletter, cannabis industry company Canna Monitor highlighted the increasing global market of cannabis vape pens and below is some data on that. And they said that in California, vapes finished the 2025 year ahead of flower. National U.S. vape is now a $7.7 billion category. U.S. vapes average a price of a little under $22 a gram. In Canada, It's a little more costly. You're looking at more like $34 a gram. They say Australia, they've got a lot of SKUs, but not seeing the actual number of that here in the report. But they do say that Canada leads with 49% of SKUs, followed by local products. The United Kingdom is dominated by Canadian 510 cartridges, ahead of South Africa, and let's see what else they got here. Germany stands thin. They say the entire range leans on certain suppliers. Let's see what else they got in here. They say in Australia, 8% of the vapes are formulated with a minor cannabinoid, 82% of which have CBG in them, which I don't see that a lot here, but I know it's getting more out there. And they say as the medical and adult use cannabis industry continues to spread around the world, the cannabis vape sector will continue to increase in size and scope for the foreseeable future. Many patients and consumers prefer vape products due to convenience and other considerations. And Cindy, I agree that the convenience, it's like pre-rolls. It's the convenience. It's ready to go. Vape pens they're ready to go.
Yep.
There's no mess. Now, I don't know about the environmental end of the cartridge, right?
Yeah, I mean, like there's, when you read this story, I mean, I giggled when you were reading it simply because, like, I mean, I remember when we were making our own vape cartridges. It's like it was the big thing to try and find empty carts and create your own. And we used nicotine vapes and nicotine cartridges, like, because you could get them empty to refill. And I remember going through that whole process with vegetable glycerin and
now it's a different product that's being vaped because it doesn't have the vegetable.
Yeah, it's propanol glycol is what they were worried that was causing the popcorn lung. So we've I pay attention. I don't even see cannabis vape products anymore with that in it. Since they've learned. Yeah, like a lot of it's live resin. It's pure cannabis. There's no additives added to it. Live resin's a big one to have thrown in these. So they're great and they are convenient. The only thing I don't like about some of the modern ones is they add these extra terpenes. So they'll take a strawberry and yank the terpenes out of the strawberry and throw it in. Right. And it's just really,
There's the added botanicals, and then there's the second one, the added flavor agents. When it just says that to me, I'm going, it's not even a terpene. It's a flavor.
No. Flavor.
What is it? They're not even saying what it is.
No, I avoid those things.
Stay away from them. Yeah, I stay away from live resin.
I mean, when I use a vape cartridge, what I like, there's one product. It's a legacy product, and I don't even hear much from them anymore. But I mean, when I get a vape cartridge, what I'd like when I take a draw off a vape cartridge is I want the taste as if I'm smoking a joint.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is comatose. So when I take a draw off this, I mean, I can taste the cannabis the way it's supposed to be tasted.
Yeah. Instead of something that tastes like perfume.
Yeah. Or, fuzzy peach rings or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. All right, from vape carts, what's next?
Oh, I'm interested in this story. This is coming to us from Ganjapreneur. The DEA argues in favor of moving cannabis to Schedule 3. Well, I'm excited to read this. Let's see what it says. In a development, I'm one of the few, I'm not one of the few, I should say. In a development, few would have predicted just a few years ago, just even a few weeks ago, a few days ago, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration is now formally defending the proposal to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under federal law. According to Ganjapreneur, the DEA has filed legal arguments supporting the rescheduling proposal as part of the ongoing administrative hearing process. The move follows recommendations from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which concluded that cannabis has accepted medical uses and should no longer remain in the country's most restrictive drug classification. If adopted, Schedule 3 status would not legalize cannabis federally, nor would it create recreational access. However, it would represent the most significant federal policy shift since cannabis was classified under the Controlled Substances Act more than 50 years ago. Yeah, almost 55 years ago. Rescheduling could dramatically affect medical research by reducing regulatory barriers that have long slowed scientific studies. It would also eliminate the federal tax burden imposed under Section 280E, providing substantial financial relief to licensed cannabis businesses operating legally under state laws. The DEA's position is particularly noteworthy because the agency has historically opposed efforts to loosen federal cannabis restrictions, and we have reported on that month after month after month here at Base Radio. While the final outcome of the hearings remains uncertain still, its legal arguments suggest a significant change in how the agency views cannabis under federal law. For advocates, for researchers, and for the cannabis industry, these proceedings represent one of the most consequential moments in American cannabis policy in decades. What do you think, Al?
Like, are they okay? When you go back over this whole story, the way this has been happening, you know, like the last report is that they had 7 groups that were coming that were anti-cannabis, and nobody was pro-cannabis, and a lot of us were all going, like, what the hell's going on here? Are they just inviting the anti people because they're going to give them an opportunity to speak, but they've already made up the decision and they're just going to go ahead with it anyways? And that way they can turn around and say, you anti people, we did give you an opportunity to speak.
That's the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah. From this report, that's the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, like before, like they would always just shut it down. Like they brought in the pros, but then they would just shut it down. And you know, the DEA argues in favor. Like
what? Yeah. It mentions that the lawyer says that they're only going to call 2 witnesses, a scientist and a medical practitioner, to back the proposed rule. That's all that they plan on bringing for witnesses on their end of things.
Wow.
And then they got these anti people that are coming to speak.
Wow.
So who knows?
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, exactly. All right, but we'll let everybody know as things change. All right, from that story, time to us to move on to the next one. And in this story, this one is coming to us from normal.org. And the headline there says, cannabis treatment provides meaningful benefits for patients with Parkinson's. Patients diagnosed with Parkinson's disease exhibit systematic improvements following the daily use of cannabis, according to the data published in the journal Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research. Israel and U.S. investigators assessed the safety and efficacy of cannabis treatment in 50 patients with Parkinson's. Study participants consumed either botanical cannabis or oil extracts provided by Israel licensed pharmacies. Now, patients were instructed to self-administer cannabis at least once per day for 3 months. Participants' symptoms were assessed at baseline and the completion of the study. They say self-titrated medical cannabis was associated with improvements across multiple clinical measures. Researchers reported. Specifically, investigators identified meaningful benefits in patients' sleep quality, pain, and nocturnal urinary frequency following cannabis treatment. Adverse effects associated with cannabis treatment were described as infrequent and mild. The study authors concluded This prospective explanatory study provides real-world evidence that self-type non-motor symptoms in Parkinson's disease, particularly sleep, pain, disturbances, and the urinary frequency. They say future studies should include standardized dosing protocols, pharmacokinetic monitoring, and longer follow-up to define dose response relationships and durable benefit. Now, the study finds that the PD patients frequently reported reduced prescription drug use and quality of life improvements following their use of cannabis, including improvements in pain, tremors, and bradykinesia, which is slowness of the movement. Yet again, there we go. More studies that showing benefits of cannabis, and I believe the two of us have been involved with somebody we've known that was dealing with Parkinson's disease and using cannabis.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a very famous Canadian that uses cannabis to control his Parkinson's disease, and that's Michael J. Fox.
Correct.
So, I mean, he's been very loud about his journey and what he's gone through. And there was a time that he thought he would never return to work, and he just finished, producing a movie. I mean, he came back with a bang. So, cannabis works. And my friend, he discovered cannabis. He's a veteran. I can't say he was. He's still with us. He's a veteran, and he'd wake up in the morning, as his cannabis was wearing off, and he'd be shaking, and he'd have a lot of the symptoms. And to watch him eat a cookie, and 20 minutes later be just as steady as you or I was just. It was like watching a miracle every morning.
Yeah, I know a patient who started to shave again. The family member couldn't believe that they'd seen their dad shaving because he hadn't done it.
Yeah.
So it can make a difference.
Yeah, huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. All right, nothing more on that. Any more questions?
I think we're good.
No, we're good. Okay, time for us to take a break. 3 minutes is normal. We'll see you shortly. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Re-rolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. Well, Cindy, we've had 4 stories already today. We got 4 more to go. We're going to be talking about, we're going to head to Europe. We got some drug report coming up. We're going to go to the Cayman Islands as well on this next trip. So let's get at her.
Let's get at her. Well, I clicked the wrong button. Our next story is coming to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference. The title says, Malta has Europe's lowest cannabis usage rate for young people. A new European report is challenging one of the most common concerns surrounding cannabis legalization. According to the International Cannabis Business Conference, Malta, Europe's first country to legalize adult use cannabis, now reports the lowest rate of cannabis use among young people across the European nations, included in the latest survey. The findings run counter to longstanding arguments that legalization inevitably leads to increased youth consumption. Instead, the data suggests that regulated legal access for adults has not resulted in a surge of cannabis use among younger populations. Public health experts caution that many factors influence young cannabis use, including education, culture, prevention programs, enforcement strategies, and broader social conditions. As a result, the report does not claim legalization alone caused the lower rates. Still, advocates argue the findings challenge assumptions that prohibition is the most effective way to reduce youth cannabis use. They contend that regulated legal markets combined with age restrictions and public education may provide stronger protection than illicit markets when sellers do not necessarily verify age. The article also notes that Malta's legalization model remains relatively unique, emphasizing non-commercial cultivation and cannabis associations rather than a large retail marketplace. As more countries debate legalization, Malta's experience is likely to receive close attention from policymakers looking for evidence of how different regulatory approaches affect public health outcomes. What do you think, Al?
I was blown away when I looked in to see how low was. And they say that their age group from between 15 and 34 years of age, their cannabis use of that age group is just 1.2%. Yeah. That that is low. Like, holy smokes, that's low. Compared to Spain at 10. Spain is 10. France is 6%. Czechia is at 6%. Netherlands is at 5.5%. And it's only basically 1%. And that's it in Malta. Oh, yeah.
And I bet you most of that 1% is probably in the late 20s to early 30s category.
That's what I wouldn't agree with you there. So, yeah, that's an awful low number. But no, but it does prove, as the report says, that just because you legalize doesn't mean that the youth consumption is going to go up.
And it was the same here in Canada. I remember when legalization first hit. After a year, they did a bunch of, they continuously do them, but they didn't get that spike like they were expecting here in Canada. I think it went down a tiny little bit too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they do. There is a report that comes out yearly on things. And there's been no spike. The sky didn't fall. All right, from cannabis, we're going to move on to. Oh, I can't hear that. What's that? Oh, here we go. This is the next story. This one is coming to us from sciencealert.com. Magic mushroom compound could offer a new approach to treating chronic tinnitus. If you want to know torment, speak to a sufferer of tinnitus. More than 1 in 10 people are walking around with persistent and uncontrollable ringing, like my ears are doing right this moment. Clicking, buzzing, and hissing that only they can hear, as I am right now. And to no reliable treatment to help them switch it off. Correct. According to a new review published in Hearing Research, psilocybin, a compound found in magic mushrooms, could point to a new way to help turn these sounds down. As unusual as that sounds, the potential effect actually has nothing to do with the psychedelic aspect of the mushrooms. Early evidence suggests psilocybin could actually rebalance the brain cells that process sound. Notably, in a 2024 experiment that's awaiting peer review, Canadian researchers gave mice a dose of psilocybin and studied the effect sound that had on the animal's brain cells. And when given psilocybin, the mice didn't learn to tune out familiar sounds as well as they otherwise did, suggesting a direct impact on the pathway believed to be interrupted in tendinitis. They say, with further research, influences of psychedelics on sensory representations could be harnessed to target maladaptive sensory processing in conditions such as tinnitus. The researchers write in their preprint paper on biorex. They say that, but before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a step back and look at what we know about tendinitis so far. While the condition remains a mystery with no direct treatments available, scientists have evidence that the problem isn't in the ear, but it's in the brain. Research has shown that tendinitis has important links to sleep and the neurotransmitter serotonin, which is better known for its role in regulating mood. Our present understanding of tendinitis is that somehow in those with the condition, the brain gets stuck perceiving a phantom sound as new and important rather than learning to tune it out. This brings us back to the mouse study in Canada, where researchers at McGill University showed psilocybin impacted the same pathway in the brain. But in this case, psilocybin stopped the brain from doing what scientists called habitation, where the brain files something away as background noise and no longer pays attention to it. Instead, in mice genetically engineered to have their neurons light up when active under a special microscope, the researchers observed psilocybin preventing that inhibition from happening. And when dosed with psilocybin, the mice kept hearing every sound as if for the first time, and their sensitivity to low intensity sounds remained high. Whereas when the mice received only saline as a control, their brains filtered out repeated sounds and became less attentive to them. But here's an important note. There was no evidence that psilocybin was causing wider impacts on sound processing. The psychedelics didn't appear to be rewiring sound processing pathways to the brain, but rather had an impact or had an effect on which sounds the brain filters out or pays attention to. Of course, this is just one study in mice, and it's yet to be peer-reviewed, but it's a link worth exploring further, according to a recent review published in the journal Hearing Research that looked at dozens of papers to assess psilocybin's potential impact on tinnitus symptoms. And if it can help, hey, because I know I've got it. I've been.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I've been diagnosed with it, and there's no cure. They suggest turning up the music.
Yep.
So that you drowned out the sound. Maybe that's why sound.
Occupy your brain with something else. It's the same as going to bed. Like they recommend playing music or having a TV on, or even just having white noise in the background to distract your brain from the ringing in the ears.
Yeah, well, that's what we do. I have something going every night. Our TV automatically shuts off. So
same.
Yeah. So it comes in.
Now I'm gonna start paying more attention on microdose days or macrodose days to what goes on with my tinnitus.
Yeah, good idea. just keep track of it and see, because that's just the one study with one mite, couple of mice here in Canada, and it takes something like that to get the ball rolling.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
alrighty,
Alrighty.
let's head off to the UN and see what they have.
Let's head off to the UN. This story caught my eye when I was going through stories last night. So this is coming to us once again from the International Cannabis Business Conference. And the title says, UN Drug Report highlights how ineffective cannabis prohibition is. A new analysis of the latest United Nations World Drug Report is renewing debate over whether decades of global cannabis prohibition have achieved their intended goals. According to the International Cannabis Business Conference, the report shows cannabis remains the most widely used illicit drug in the world, despite generations of criminal enforcement, international treaties, and prohibition policies aimed at reducing supply and demand. It's a weed, it's going to grow. The article argues that the continued prevalence of cannabis demonstrates the limitations of prohibition-based approaches, despite billions of dollars spent on enforcement and millions of arrests worldwide and deaths over the past several decades. Cannabis remains readily available in virtually every region of the globe. Rather than showing significant declines in use, the report documents continued demand alongside the expansion of both legal and illicit or legacy cannabis markets. As more countries adopt medical cannabis programs and some move towards adult use legalization, governments are increasingly reassessing policies that have remained largely unchanged for decades. The article also notes that prohibition has often produced unintended consequences, including the growth of illicit markets, organized crime involvement, and criminal records for individuals whose offenses involved cannabis possession rather than violent crime. Advocates quoted in the piece argue that the data reinforces what many reformers have said for years. Prohibition has not eliminated cannabis. It has simply shaped how and where it is produced, sold, and consumed. While opinions differ on what the ideal cannabis policy should be, the report raises an important question for governments around the world. If the primary goal of prohibition was to stop cannabis use, then after more than half a century, isn't it time to honestly evaluate whether that strategy has accomplished what it has set out to do? What do you think, Al?
Makes sense to me, and obviously it has been a failure.
Obviously,
numbers are going up. People are using it for medical purposes. It's helping people get a better quality of life. And you look at, if they're worried about what kind of damage cannabis can do to society, they say that there's 2.3 billion people who consume alcohol. More than 3 million people die a year from alcohol-related causes. And then they say alcohol causes more than 5% of the global disease burden. And tobacco, they say 1.2 billion people smoke tobacco, and it's responsible for 7 million deaths annually. Never mind the long-term suffering of tobacco-related diseases. But yet cannabis is basically still globally illegal other than a handful of countries. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
And not just illegal, but there are those countries that kill people for it.
Correct.
Death sentences. And in those countries, let's just note, people are still finding ways to use this.
Yeah.
Because it makes a difference. It saves lives. It helps, fight depression and anxiety and pain. So people are finding ways.
Exactly. So, all righty. From that, anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. For that, we're going to move on to our last story of the day. And this is coming to us from Marijuana Moment. And the headline on it says, Cayman Islands government Commission lays out options for cannabis reform following voters' passage of decriminalization reform. Officials in the Cayman Islands have published a report on options for cannabis reform following voters' approval last year of a referendum supporting cannabis decriminalization. The self-governing British Territories Law Reform Commission on Wednesday issued a discussion paper titled Cannabis Reform Options for the Harm Minimalization Framework. And they are accepting public comments on its findings through to September the 1st. Now, the document lays out a range of model policies to build on the territory's existing medical cannabis law while analyzing benefits and drawbacks of each, ultimately concluding that decriminalizing possession and consumption without allowing retail access and marketing would be likely to reduce the negative impacts of prohibition while mitigating the risks of reform. The Commission notes that cannabis has deep historical, cultural, and religious roots across the Caribbean and was grown and used freely long before it was prohibited. Prohibition, it said, is a relatively recent development which occurred without the benefit of scientific evidence about the harm or beneficial properties of cannabis. Even if prohibition deters or suppresses cannabis use to some extent, it is important to evaluate that any benefits of prohibition against its negative impacts, the report notes. It goes on to say the negative impacts of prohibition include health impacts, social economic impacts, criminal justice impacts. Now, the report weighs various options for cannabis policies, including decriminalization, strict legalization, liberal legalization, and hybrid legal regulation. Despite acknowledging that simple decriminalization does little to combat the illegal market, it raises concerns that broader commercial legalization can lead to an increase in problematic cannabis use. They say, accordingly, the Commission holds the view that any reform should be limited to decriminalizing the consumption and possession of small amounts of cannabis, while the importation, production, distribution, and sale of cannabis should remain illegal, the report concludes. It also says, however, that the Commission does not discount the possibility of developing a legal supply model at some point in the future, saying that for now it is recommending a cautious, incremental approach to reform focused on harm minimization. Now, the report, the creation of which was directed by the Cayman Islands Cabinet, lays out a series of specific questions that the Commission wants feedback on. And this is some of the questions. Do you think that the importation, production, distribution, and sale of cannabis should remain illegal? Do you think that the home cultivation of a limited number of cannabis plants for personal consumption should be decriminalized? Yes. Do you think consumption and possession of cannabis should be decriminalized for minors under the age of 18? Do you think that cannabis consumption should be permitted in private residential dwellings? Of course. If the consumption and possession of small amounts of cannabis is decriminalized, do you think administrative penalties should apply or no penalties at all? So that would be like a minor fine. Some places have that with decriminalization. Now, if consumption and possession of cannabis by minors is not decriminalized, do you think that criminal penalties should be replaced with administration penalties? Do you think that decriminalization should be limited to dried cannabis and not extended to cannabis resin and other cannabis products? No. It should include all products. Do you agree with the possession limit of 30 grams of dried cannabis and 150 grams of wet or harvested cannabis? Do you agree with the cultivation limit of 4 plants per household? And do you think that historic cannabis convictions should be expunged? Well, what do you think, Rev Cindy? They got a lot of questions there. I'm sure that you had some similar answers, and I didn't answer all the questions. But
yeah. So, do you think the the importation should remain illegal? No. Do you think that home cultivation of a limited number of cannabis plants for personal consumption should be decriminalized? Yes. cannabis consumption should only be allowed in private residential dwellings. No, it should be allowed there, and they should be allowed to use it.
Well,
I mean, like,
if
you know,
you consume it in your private residence, where are you going to be allowed to consume it?
yeah, but it says, you know, do you think cannabis consumption should only be permitted in private residential
Yeah.
dwellings? So like, yes, it should, you know, like it says that's, I read that as like the private residential dwellings are fine. Should they be allowed to do it elsewhere? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Within reason, absolutely. You know,
Do you think it should
I
be
don't think
limited
that's
to just dried cannabis and not
yeah,
extended?
no, I think that, you know, like
No.
you have cannabis, you should be able to you produce it any way you want. Like, do you want to make edibles? Do you want to make concentrates? Yeah, allow people to grow. If you want to limit it, like, I mean, if somebody's growing 4 plants inside, you know, they're gonna be able to go all year round and they're gonna be okay. You know, yes, you should expunge your past convictions. Yeah.
And don't agree on the 30-gram limit. I was surprised the 150 grams of wet or harvested cannabis. I haven't seen that in any
Yeah, that's kind of
reports
weird.
that we've done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's good. You know, as we always say, it's a step. They're getting there. Those are questions they're going to ask. They have to be in by September the 1st, and then some point after that, there will be a report that will be released. I assume will be released, and when it is, I'm sure we'll pick it up. Let
Absolutely.
everybody know what's going on. All righty. Before we say goodbye, we have to finish our discussion on how things went Friday night at the movies.
Oh, Friday night, it went really well. We as the Nova Scotia Psychedelic Society, we put on the Descending the Mountain movie that I've been highlighting here during our shows. We had a wonderful turnout, you know, for a Friday summer evening. A lot of people came out. We were quite happy with that. The movie itself is amazing. If you have the chance, you should go watch it. It is, you know, we're following and learning about a study that was done in Switzerland, actually, with psilocybin and a placebo. And the participants had to be, how did they put it, Zen master meditators. So they had to be master meditators, you know, to be involved in the study. And they had, you know, everyday people that meditated, you know, right up to a nun, you know, that was part of it. It was really cool. So we watched these people and we learned about the study and had them go through it. And only one person had a loud experience. Everybody else meditated through the whole thing, and they were very quiet and they were very calm. And so it was really interesting to watch this in comparison to other studies that I've learned about where people are quite dynamic. You know, they're vocal. You know, they talk. You know, they express what they're going through. So it was really neat to watch this. And even the person that was vocal, he wasn't having a bad trip. He was having a really good trip. If you watch the movie, you'll understand. A really good trip. And you know, so it was really beautiful to watch, especially with, you know, 100+ other people. You know, it made a wonderful effect. A lot of people really got a lot out of it. And then we had a panel, which was really cool. And before I really tell you about the panel, the story behind how emotional this is for me, years ago, just as I was starting in with PACE, actually, a documentary was released by a couple of young documentary makers out in Vancouver called Dosed. It was supposed to be called Microdose Me. They were following a friend of theirs who was trying to get sober using mushrooms, specifically microdosing or full dosing with mushrooms. They ended up changing the name of the movie, and she ended up doing iboga, and we followed the process with her doing this. And I went to this movie. I was in a desperate time of my life looking for healing, really needed to find something that was going to help me. I thought mushrooms were it, and the mushrooms were it. They did a lot for me, and that's why I went to the movie, was to learn about mushrooms. And iboga was presented to me, and that started my search for iboga, and my life utterly changed with this movie and finding this medicine. And I remember being very, you know, in awe of this movie and loving the fact that the society put this on. And here I am 6 years later, being one of the people that presented the movie, and more than that, being one of the professionals that was sitting on the board alongside a doctor, a psychiatrist, and a therapist. So for me, this moment that you see right here on the screen was a full circle moment for me. It was very emotional. I'm the one speaking in this picture, and the other 4 gentlemen on the board, or on the panel, sorry, are watching me intently and listening to me. And this was just so huge for me. It was a very big moment. And I'm really excited that Al's given me a moment to tell my story and to share this picture. Oh, look, I'm getting emotional. I tried not to. So it was an honor to sit on this panel and answer questions alongside the 3 gentlemen to my left. The gentleman to my right, or as you're looking at it, to the left, that's T.R. Appleby, and he is one of the co-founders of the Nova Scotia Psychedelic Society. And he was emceeing the event, as well as, giving his answers to the questions, sitting on the panel. So it was a spectacular, magical evening. 100+ people sitting there, an amazing panel, wonderful answers, wonderful questions, and a moment that will live in my memory forever.
As you said, it is a complete turnaround. You went there seeking answers to help you.
Yes.
And we've been saying, go to these movies, because they're educational. People will learn things. And you've gone from seeking help to now giving help.
Yes. That's what it led me to, is not just my own healing, but education, so I can reach my hand out and help other people with their healing.
Exactly. Yeah. And knowing that you're making a difference.
Yeah.
Is huge. So
I know it makes a difference because it made a difference in me.
Yeah. Exactly. And from you doing these movies, somebody else is going to speak up, and it's just going to get bigger and the voice gets louder.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else you want to mention?
Ooh, not right now. I think we're good.
Okay. That's it, everybody. That's the report for today. Thanks to our buds at the Campbell Lifestyle Shop at ease.ca and Limestone City Hydroponics.ca. In closing, thanks for everybody for tuning into the program. I really appreciate it. Get out there like Cindy. Watch the documentary and it'll change your life. Do it. So, other than that, do not educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this toke.
Tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 420radio.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good day and welcome to the Mushy Moment with myself and my awesome co-host, Reverend Cindy. We're live today on Tuesday, December 3rd. Holy crap, the countdown's coming. Hope all you got your Christmas shoplifting done. We're here on 2024 on paceradio.net, and we stream everywhere. How you doing? You got all your Christmas shopping done?
No. How about you?
Oh, not at all. Gee,
have you started?
Did Canada Post send you your advent calendars?
You want to know what's really bad? Is they got in one day. And they got in I can't remember what day the Canada Post strike started. Was it a Thursday or something? So Wednesday, I got the notification that there was a card left there for me. And before I could make it down there to get them, they went on strike. Yeah.
Well, we'll leave that conversation alone. Yeah, it just cost me triple the price to send a bunch of stuff out for people. It was kind of annoying.
Unbelievable. Yeah, what it's done. I mean, I've got a couple of advent calendars, and actually one of the companies that I ordered from was really amazing. Angel, buy the jump-ins. She knows that we're live, so she's being bad. And they called and they said, hey, due to the strike, this isn't going to make it to you. So we're going to put something out. We're going to call it back, and we're just going to send you a new one via courier. What's your home address? Nice. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. So I'll have one gift and my dad's advent calendar and mine, which is of course mine's full of weed. Sitting in the post office until they decide they're coming back to work.
Well, you'll probably have a great gift for New Year's. I don't know if you can hear. Chica's sitting in the front window there, and apparently, if anybody goes walking by, she's going to talk to them. So you may hear a little bit of yiping and yapping, and
it's all good. It's all good. Chica's a sweetheart. So today we have a pretty cool guest. Actually, when I read his bio, Steve just looked at me and he goes, "So you're telling me that we've got a guest that just kicks ass then?" And I'm like, yeah, we got a kick-ass guest today. This gentleman has, grown up helping his grandparents, served in the armed forces in the United States, ended up with an injury and survived surgeries, fought addiction, found his way out and found his way to healing. And now he works hard to help others be able to find the same healing. It's pretty awesome. And when we were talking before the show, I found out that his ancestors actually came to the Americas via Nova Scotia. So some of his distant relatives are my dear friends here in Nova Scotia, which was kind of neat.
And he's got that awesome accent that sometimes we get to see on TV every once in a while when we're like Canadians up here in the Great White North, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So we would like to welcome Tony Landry to the show. Welcome, Tony.
Hey, welcome, Cindy and Steve. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah. The backstage talk before the show was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. And I told you what I was going to ask first. And, people usually know what one of us pops out and asks. We are a psychedelic show, and I do like to know how people come to have that love and respect for the psychedelic medicine as Steve and I have. So what brought you to psychedelics, Tony?
Yeah, the plant medicine, I first heard about it when I moved to Tucson. I didn't even, in Louisiana, didn't ever really do any mushrooms or anything, although they grow in all the cow pastures down here in the summertime, but I just never partake in them. When I moved out to Tucson, I went to the 2019 psychedelic conference, and I learned about ayahuasca, ibogaine, bufo, psilocybin mushrooms, and how they were having a miraculous, profound effect on healing people from mental health issues like addiction, depression, and anxiety. So I left the conference and found out they had a ayahuasca church located in Tucson. I went and had my first ayahuasca ceremony at the church, and let me tell you, I was a believer after that. I was struggling with alcohol every day. First thing on my mind was, when can I drink today? And the ayahuasca just turned that off like a key. Somebody put a key in my brain the next morning, and I didn't drink again for like 3 years, and so it really had a profound effect. I had a divorce from my wife and went through some depression and moved back to Louisiana, and alcohol is so socially accepted down here with our festival attitude, atmosphere, and so it wasn't hard not to fall back into my old patterns. So, but since then I went back to Tucson, had some more ayahuasca, and I think you have to get a little tune up every so often. You can't do it one time and it's over with. So
yeah, it's not a magic bullet. None of these medicines are.
No.
Yeah,
you have to do the integration work after you do the ceremony, that talking with your community members in that group,
yeah,
sharing.
What was your pathway prior to finding that? Give us some of the history that made you seek it.
The ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I stumbled across it learning about ayahuasca because of my advocacy in medical cannabis. I had some injuries getting out of service, and had a couple back surgeries, and went through all the opiate, building tolerance to the opiates, and they wasn't working anymore. Finally give up on that, and then I started drinking, and to soothe the discomfort from my back, my pain. And one day I tried CBD oil, and really it took about a couple weeks, Steve, for it really. I think my endocannabinoid system was just so run down. It took a little bit to tank it off, but once it did, I noticed I wasn't taking BC powders anymore, and because I was taking that, I got off the opiates by using those, and those things will mess up your stomach after a while. If you take them 2 or 3 a day. So when I got on the CBD, after a while, I'd wash my clothes and I'd find them in the laundry, the aspirin. I was like, wow, what's this stuff really helping? I'm not taking these aspirin all the time. And so I started the group, Louisiana Veterans for Medical Cannabis, and got some rallies at the Capitol. I think we've had at least 4 rallies on opening day of the legislative session. But back then, I had an opportunity to move to Tucson. So back in 2018, we got a chronic pain bill and a PTSD bill added to our medical cannabis program. So after that, the program really took off and got started. Before that, since 2015, we had the legislation in place, and then there was it's supposed to be prescribed. The original legislation said the doctor could prescribe it, so they had to come back the next year and change to recommend. It's just one thing after another. But it took till 2019 before they actually have product down here on the shelf through the dispensaries. But so right in 2018, when after the session happened, I was like, well, I got an opportunity to move to Arizona, and they have a medical cannabis program in Arizona. So I think it was just part of my journey that I needed to go over there and learn about ayahuasca and the psilocybin mushrooms and how they can help people.
Yeah. Yeah, and they really can.
Yeah.
I like to call it hurt healers helping hurt healers heal. It's this group of people that were hurt that are starting to heal, and then they find other people that were hurt that are starting to heal, and then they exchange the tools they found, and all of a sudden you got this community of people that are walking a wave of healing, and that community just grows bigger and bigger, and it's such a beautiful thing. Wow, I love that, that you're actually a pretty loud advocate on it and creating groups to make those type of things happen. That's beautiful.
When you went down to Arizona, you became part of NORML, correct?
Yes. Michael Robinette was created Southern Arizona NORML in Tucson. Phoenix had a chapter of NORML that did a lot of work over there in Phoenix, but he and I lived in Tucson. So he said, well, Tony, you want to, because when I got to Arizona, I went straight to the capital and started working down there. But I was known for my work in Louisiana by, the advocates in NORML from Phoenix. So, and then Mike was involved with them. So when he wanted to start the Tucson chapter, I said, let's do it. So we had several meetings, and then there's Tucson Psychedelic Society that we had several meetings there, and then they would bring in speakers like psilocybin, or plant medicine speakers, and ayahuasca, and people would come to the state, the county legislative office. I can't speak. The county administration, they let us use their building, and that's where I learned how to grow mushrooms, because there was a group there that we grew oyster mushrooms, and it got me to start this group in Louisiana, the Swamp Spore Society. So now we grow an oyster mushrooms at the library here in Lafayette, Louisiana. And if somebody once they get the knowledge, they can grow whatever mushroom they want, once they learn to grow it.
Yep.
Lion's mane. Going with lion's mane.
I think it's amazing that you're doing this, not just with gourmet mushrooms, as you called them, but the psilocybin mushrooms. I think it's amazing that you're down at your local library teaching people how to grow magic mushrooms. Like the teenager in me is going, yeah, that's amazing.
Well, now I will bring, we growing oysters at the library, because anyway, Louisiana has a special law that allows for us to grow psilocybe mushroom, but I don't want to bring them to the library because everybody hears mushroom, automatically they think it's poison or something like that. They don't know anything about it. So I figure, well, once everybody learns how to grow the oysters, then they can go home and do what they want, because you can get the spores in 48 states down here, including Louisiana. And then we've got the law. I carry our law around with me. It's Louisiana.
Nice.
Carried in this is my little mushroom Bible. Got all my recipes for my grain jars and the substrate, everything like that. I carry that with me in my, when I go teach them at the Swamp Spore. And I said, well, look, we got a clause in here that says we can grow psilocybe mushrooms in Louisiana. But I said, what's going to get you hemmed up is if you go and put them in some chocolate boards and go try and, distribute them and stuff. But I said, as long as they're dried mushrooms in a glass jar, you can harvest it. The law allows you to plant, harvest, everything. So, because we got ayahuasca on that list, it's 38 plants, hallucinogenic plants. Ayahuasca we can actually grow in Louisiana, and yes, it's too many plants to list, but most of them are found in flower beds and little, gardens and stuff in front of people's houses. And they don't even know they're hallucinogenic, but they are.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can grow the vines that they use to create ayahuasca in your state.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It's on that list. Like I said, it's like 40 plants, 38, 39 or 40.
Wow.
And one of the plants is the Mimosa hostilis tree, which grows wild down here. They got one in the backyard right here at the neighbor's house. They got a big old mimosa tree. And you can take the pink flowers off the mimosa tree and collect them and put them in a jar with some Everclear in it, some alcohol, and put it up in the cabinet for 30 days. And it's a nice, relaxing tincture. And the root bark of that tree, you can extract through with naphtha and some chemical process. I don't know the recipe, but it's on YouTube. You can pull it up on YouTube and order the root bark. The indigenous tribes use it to dye clothes. It's got red color to it. But you do use extraction on the tabletop, and you got DMT. So I mean, there's a lot of medicine that you need the knowledge. You need to educate the public about how to use these plants instead of making them illegal. Then they don't know nothing about it. How to take the setting and everything. When you use them, you should be in certain set, and you're not upset about that. You should have set intentions that you want to work on this problem. So you're already building that highway around the trauma before you go in, and then when you go in, you have the neurogenesis and all the stuff happening with the medicine, and then the integrations afterward. We need a whole system of people trained in all that, so that people have somewhere to go and use the medicine.
And the integration after.
And
that's
the
one of the things that Cindy and I are.
It's actually easier to get integration coaches than it is to get facilitators, at least here in Canada. I've got 2 websites that, your dog whined and I looked at mine. I was given a second one today, but I've got 2 websites that have a list of, integration coaches or specialists that are coast to coast here in Canada. And there's a lot of them. I'm just sending out letters to all of them so I can get them in a Rolodex and, for my own practice. But try to find a ayahuasca facilitator or an iboga facilitator or a 5-MeO facilitator. Unless you're in the community, which is still less than 3% of the population, there's nobody. People the only reason people know what I'm doing is because I'm being loud on social media. I've shared my certificates and what I've learned and what I do. And I am open to taking clients through that, advertising, for lack of a better word. But, unless you're friends with me, you don't see that. And that's the same way with a lot of other facilitators. The walls are up all the way around it because of legalities, for one, social stigma for another. Because even when, and I use the word when because I truly believe it's going to happen in both of our countries, when United States federally decriminalizes or reschedules cannabis, and when both countries legalize, decriminalize, or rescheduleize psilocybin, the stigma is still going to be there. We're still going to have to fight, that crazy stoner, or look at that old, screwed up hippie, all stoned on mushrooms, blah, 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 blah. So that stigma is still there for us to fight. And we can't do that unless we take down those walls. And we need people like the 3 of us to help do that. And then I think more people are going to come along. More people are going to learn, and more people are going to have reverence, and more people are going to understand set and setting. And they're going to take that ceremony and that reverence that they're learning through these beautiful medicines, and they're going to take it and they're going to put it into their own life. So when they sit, and I think this is where prayer over a meal comes from. They're going to say thank you for their food, because that isn't a ceremony in and of itself. When you're sitting there eating good, healthy food, we should give a thanks. I mean, my ancestors, being Cree, used to throw tobacco down every time they received something amazing, a good meal. Thank you, ancestors. And I think getting back into the reverence is very important for us all.
Yeah, that's beautiful story.
I apologize.
No, that's good. I agree 100%. The ancestors had a lot of answers to our problems today, and they don't they're not, you know, the drug war is not saving lives. I mean, more and more people.
No, the drugs are winning.
Yeah, yeah. So we need to pull back these ancestral practices of using plant medicine to deal with this mental health issue.
I have to agree because it's been magic. It's been magic for myself, and you know, my history was a lot of medications, which medications, they don't lie. Medications are made to medicate. They're not called healications. They're called medications. And, you know, in the history of my study, most medications up until, you know, the last 15 years, most medications were found in a plant. The active ingredient that was creating the healing was extracted. Then the molecular structure was put together and they would synthesize something, create a pill. And now that plant doesn't want to be, you know, we don't want to promote that plant because we can patent and sell this pill. And most people don't even realize that, you know, at one point there's over 85 medications that were in North America on the marketplace that were all a synthesized version of something in a plant. And if you've been using the cannabis oil and in that world, then you've probably come to realize, you know, that pure CBD is a great medication and pure THC is a great medication, but the whole plant oil, that's a great healing oil.
Yeah, I agree. You know, some of these, what a lot of people smoke today is like this distillate vape pen, and they're missing all of the minor cannabinoids. It's just a stripped out version of THC. They just don't know what they're doing, but it's just so convenient. They, you know.
And they've been programmed. That's a great program. They managed to make the program of cannabis 90% in the conscious about smoking, when really, you know, battling cancer, you want to be ingesting that stuff. You want to be using a suppository. You want to get that whole oil into your system and get it rocking.
Well, yeah.
But it's all about, oh no, smoke, yeah, oh, smoking. It's like, oh, you still managed to make the conscious focused on the worst way of consuming it for health.
Yes, I agree. And like even like vaping the like organic, living soil grown, sun grown cannabis flower, dry vaping it, and then using that vape material in your edibles. I mean, that's the way cannabis made to be consumed. But nobody knows about full spectrum cannabis and all the, you know, different cannabinoids. They just don't know. I guess part of the stigma Cindy was talking about is just so a lot of educating.
Yeah, like the government up here, the government is the one that can be. They're all about vaping, and then they brought out vape pens in the legal stores, and it's a way, like Steve said, it's a way to medicate. It's not a way to heal. It's a way to medicate, and that keeps customers. Right. Yep. They keep coming back instead of, you know, like, you know, instead of only using small doses to maintain or putting it on the shelf for a while, they keep coming back because all it does is band-aid symptoms.
Yeah. Just the THC. They just fill in the high part of cannabis, but cannabis, all the other cannabinoids, all keep our endocannabinoid system in balance and everything. Yep. We have receptors all over our body that THC maybe doesn't go to, but the CBD, all the different cannabinoids go to. So.
Between each of them, that's one of the things we're getting lots of info since, you know, in Canada it's been federally legal for a while. We get a lot of the research done, and you know, one of the big things that they are saying is that every organ in the body, including the skin, has a cannabinoid receptor, and they're now finding that most of them actually have two, but the regulation between how they work is a little different. Some require more of the CBD, some require more of the THC to activate. But, you know, when battling something like a hard cancer, you want as much in activating everyone you can. You want them all activated. You want the body in healing homeostasis, and then you want to give it something in the gut that unlocks the keys to heal. You know, oh, I'm gonna go have a McDonald's Big Mac and a shake. You know, sorry, that's not opening the healing keys.
No, absolutely no sugar.
Wow. So with your with where you are currently now, you've done the ayahuasca. Yours. Oh, where are we at time wise? Maybe I should.
We could go anytime if you want to take a break before that question. Up to you.
Let's take the break now, and then we'll come back, and because it'll probably take us through another area.
Okay. Okay. Do you want to do your
It's break time. Time to check out our sponsors and pay some bills. You're here with us live on the Mushy Moment on paceradio.net, streaming everywhere. We'll be right back.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
That way. I'm having an awesome day, and I'm gonna make sure it stays that way.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Welcome back to the Mushy Moment, streaming live to you here at paceradio.net and everywhere. We're here with Tony Landry.
Howdy.
Welcome back.
I was going to ask a question before the break, and I decided to wait till after the break.
And now you can't remember the question?
No, I actually do. Isn't that amazing? You had your journey through trauma, etc., into the cannabis end. From the cannabis, did you find mushrooms first or ayahuasca first?
Ayahuasca first.
And then from the Aya, what happened and transpired to where you are now?
The ayahuasca caused me to give up the urge for alcohol for 3 whole years while I lived in Arizona. And then the mushrooms came through one of the groups. Somebody in the group, we had a mushroom growing group that grew oysters and all. May have been one of the guys that was at one of those meetings there that grew psilocybin mushrooms, and so I bought some. But here in Louisiana, they're illegal to consume. So we just grow an oyster mushrooms. Just we don't want to well, I mean, we can grow the psilocybin. It's legal to grow them, but you can make necklaces with them and headbands,
but you can't eat them.
Yeah, you can't eat them. If you die of alcoholism, can't eat them. You just grow them for decorative, aesthetic purpose. So
wow.
Now make sure everybody knows that. Just make sure that they're growing them for decorative purposes. I mean.
Yes, because it's all within the legal realm of the wording.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. By law, it's an expensive list. I mean, the plants are I mean, I swear there's like 39 plants.
Now, what is it? You brought this out. You showed this to us earlier. This
Yeah.
is, explain what this is again.
It's the Louisiana RS Revised Statute 40989.1. You go to Louisiana Legislative website, you can look up this law, and then in that law they give you some penalties at the beginning, but it has the words exceptions. Penalties for manufacturing or making tea or chocolates or whatever. There's some serious crime, $50,000 fines, and very serious 5 years in jail. So, but then at the end it says, the provisions of this section shall not apply to the possession, planting, cultivation, growing, or harvesting of hallucinogenic plants strictly for aesthetic, landscaping, or decorative purposes. So there's a clause in there that allows you to grow the plants, all of them. Ayahuasca's on.
So there was a brilliant ancestor that got together with a couple other brilliant ancestors and made sure that piece of paperwork was put in place.
I'm not sure how it transpired. You can find on my YouTube channel the guy, the legislator that is the Department of Agriculture, Commissioner of Agriculture. When he was a legislator, he made this law because some child had ate some angel's trumpet and thought his arm was a po' boy and tried to eat his arm and jumped off a roof or something. So he come out with this law and said, well, we're going to make it sure that these plants are available in nurseries, because some of them are ornamental plants that you find in flower beds all over Louisiana. So just people don't know that they have hallucinogenic properties. But anyway, when I got back from Arizona after all the psychedelic conference and I created Decriminalized Nature Tucson and learned a lot about plant medicine, I said, well, what does Louisiana have for a law? So I looked up Louisiana, Googled, their law, and this is what they have. So I'm working within the boundaries of our law and telling people, yeah, it's legal to grow psilocybe mushrooms, but they're only for decorative purposes.
Yeah.
But I do work at the Capitol to try and get the legislators to understand that these medicines were available to our ancestors, and they can help us today, and that we should be able to grow cannabis and mushrooms in our home. If you can have a company and make $1 million off of it, and you say it's medical for that, then we should be able to do it in the comfort of our home. If we want to sell it and get a business in that, go get the license. But if we want to use it in our house, hey.
For personal use, we should be able to. Everywhere in the world should be able to grow these plants. There are still countries in the world that have death penalty if you're caught with cannabis.
Yeah.
Caught with a joint of cannabis, and you can be put to death. In some countries, it's just mind-blowing, right? And what gets me is like the government. Speaking of your government, our government caught on to this, and they're trying to keep control of the monopoly. Making a ton of money off cannabis because it can double as a recreational component as well. The same as magic mushrooms or LSD or MDMA or MDA. Wonderful medicines, can do a lot of help to help people heal with the right set and setting, but you can also put recreational intentions into all of those medicines and have a good time with your friends. Like, I'm going to go take this gram of mushrooms and have a good laugh with my friends. There's two medicines in that: the fact that the magic mushrooms are going to be there to help you, and laughter with your friends, right? So the governments, if they get on board and take monopoly of that recreational side, they can make money and do a lot of funding, and it would be nice to see all of the governments of the world get on board with that, and
but use the money that's coming in for promoting the medical end that is completely lacking, because that's what happened up here. Recreational became legal, but they set limits on things. So if you want, proper Rick Simpson oil, or no, I shouldn't call it that, proper FECO, full extract cannabis oil at the proper strengths, it's not available from the legal sources. So if you actually medicinally need this stuff, it's not available. But nobody supports any of the medical because they go, what are you talking about? I can go buy weed right over there. Yes, but I can't buy the 50 milligram gummy. I can't get the oil that's 88 to 92% that I need to fight these diseases.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It is.
It
is. But I'm still very happy and lucky to be here in Canada. Our laws are, at least it's legal, and we're not killing anybody for it.
And it's a good starting place. And if you get busted with the illegal stuff, it's only a matter of time till it hits Supreme Court. And, sorry, logistics says if that's legal, this is silly to not be legal. It just needs to hit the right places with the right people with the right amount of money behind it, really.
Yeah, it will.
That's like the DEA just wanting to move Schedule 3. Now, that's not going to change really anything, because you get caught with a Schedule 3 pharmaceutical, and that's serious felony charges and that. So moving it to Schedule 3 is not going to really help. It needs to be on Schedule 5 or something like that. And then the FDA is fast track psilocybin for research for mental health. So that's on stage 3, I think, right now. So it's coming up in a year or two. We'll be able to get psilocybin from a medical doctor. So
that's amazing.
That's why we need to build the infrastructure now of the healthcare, train the facilitators and nurse practitioners, whoever that's going to be facilitating these events, the therapy. Because like ketamine, they do ketamine infusion, but you just sit in a chair and the guy's sitting there looking at his phone while you're getting the ketamine, then you go home. You don't do follow up or nothing. Might help. What I've seen it help stage 4 depression and that. Get my wife. Yep. She was in bad shape, and she come out of ketamine, went on the computer, looked up for a job, and got a job. Teaching job.
Yeah.
She was suffering from a depressive episode, and it was after the conference that I learned about ketamine.
No, they're doing a lot of testing with it up here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, up here, our ketamine facilities, though, they if you're going to go in for ketamine treatment, they insist on having talk therapy, usually through them and one of their therapists as well. So you don't just get infused and sent home here. Thankfully, you get talk therapy before, during if you need it, and after as well.
Yeah. Well, that's like ayahuasca. You had a special diet, and then you prep, your mind, got your mind ready before, and then they have an integration circle where you can talk about your experience, and hearing other people's experience really help. I've sat through some of those meetings where people would tell you how they were suffering from bad depression. It felt like they just opened their chest and that little depressive guy left, and just some amazing stories of the health benefits. But keeping it illegal just keeps it in the underground, and not a lot of people find out, or not a lot of people want to go do that. So we need to.
It's pretty tough. It's a tough awakening. People have to be already knowledgeable and seeking generally to find it. That's what I'm noticing. With you, was your first experience with mushrooms a big experience, or was it a microdosing type experience?
It was about 3.5 grams or something. I never did much more than, when I lived in Arizona.
Well, that's generally a pretty big experience.
Yeah, it's a pretty full dose.
Yeah. It was after the ayahuasca, so it was just a interesting experience,
Now I'm going to ask you a strange question. I was in Mexico. I did 5 rounds of ayahuasca in a jungle there, and I did a little touring around. But what I found was when I got back, and I've also found it with when I do 5-MeO or Bufo, that the mushrooms help me integrate the data better in my brain.
Yeah.
I'll do a mushroom journey, and all of the questioning data I had that was, I was having problems sorting. The mushrooms seemed to sort it out and place it into the proper places, and all of the data finds its place. Do you find that type of thing? Did you find the mushrooms kind of helped you integrate from your Aya experience?
Yeah, I think each plant has something different to offer. I've heard the plants speak to you. The first time I heard that at a Tucson psychedelic meeting, I was like, "What?" But no, I think the mushrooms they speak to me too. I mean, you have like one of the strains is called Golden Teacher because the mushroom teaches you.
Yes, that's actually my favorite strain, and that's generally what we use all through our microdosing products as well.
Yeah,
it's a very healing strain. Some people want to just go for journeys, so there's penis envy available and whatnot.
Yeah.
But ourselves with our stuff and my own personal, that's my favorite. I love the language. That's what Cindy and I've discussed that even within the mushrooms, they each have their own language.
Yes.
So it's a similar conversation, but some of them are yelling at you, some of them are whispering, some of them are pointing over here, some of them are pointing right there.
Yeah.
They all speak a little different.
Oh, absolutely. The ayahuasca made me feel first time I had an out of body experience, but I was actually like able to look at myself and say, "Man, what are you doing? You need to stop all that drinking and all that." So I think that was ayahuasca telling me that.
Yeah, I had a pretty Aya spoke pretty loud to me. One of the first things she said was she told me I was a puny little arrogant human, and then I learned I was a puny little arrogant human. Yeah, that medicine spoke loud. I hear that iboga does the same kind of aspect. It speaks fairly loud to you and gives you that vision of you being able to see the avatar and going, boy, I need to help that person.
Oh yeah. The last time I went, I quit smoking cannabis before I went, and I think it was my best experience ever because I went at least 30 days without smoking cannabis. But it was like I saw the Matrix movie with the ones and the zeros. I actually saw some of that on the beams of this wonderful organization, Aya Guide, AYAGUIDE guide.com. I think they're out of Tucson, but they have the Ikara music and everything in this beautiful yurt that's 30 miles out in the southern desert, south of Tucson. So I went to dozens of ceremonies with them, but they're wonderful people. And so it's rather than people trying to go out of country or something that live in the United States, I would recommend them. But yeah, the last time it was definitely an intense experience, but it did help me pull right out of the drinking urge again. I mean, I really think our bodies needs, like at least once a year maybe or something, have a good psychedelic experience and it kind of keeps us in tune.
Yeah, I find it not only does a reset on the brain, but when the reset on the brain happens, it helps set the DNA's desires. Because sometimes the desires, for me, it's sugar, and you have those journeys, and all of a sudden, those little things go away, and you make that level of healing that when you go to introduce it again, the body goes, "Hey, I don't like that. I don't like that." It kind of resets the DNA as well as the brain, and it's like, oh, each one is another level of being a little healthier.
Yeah, I think I heard a guy explain it in Phoenix. He was like, well, when we're born, all our synapses are firing off good, connecting. every time you get in trauma, they kind of pull back. So the plant medicine kind of gets that going again. It starts letting everything communicate. So
Yeah. Mushrooms are extremely good for that.
yeah,
Not just the psilocybin mushrooms. There are plenty of mushrooms, gourmet mushrooms, as you call them. I call them over-the-counter mushrooms, right? That are that are just amazing.
Magic.
Well, yes, in our group, we can grow lion's mane mushrooms. I mean, those things are amazingly healthy. Building the myelin sheath, and so they all work together. All these plants work together.
Okay, so you've discovered mushrooms, and now from discovering them to where you are now, take us through that bit of the journey.
Discovered mushrooms are upset. When I got back to Louisiana, I was like, well, what can we do here? So I found this law, said, oh, you can grow psilocybe mushrooms. So, and like I said, I'll go to the library and do it. And anybody, when they find out you grow mushrooms, they want you to grow them for them. Nah, man, I teach you how to grow mushroom. You want to know? So I went to the library and reserved some, till we do like one meeting in the beginning of the month. And then 2 weeks later, we do another. Well, first meeting, we inoculate a jar of grain. And then the next one, they bring it back and we have a bag of substrate. We mix it in there, and then they take it home, and it's oyster mushrooms. They grow. But through that process, they learn the transfer of the mycelium, from the spore syringe to the grain jar, and they learn all that. And once you get that knowledge, and you can do it well. So the Swamp Spore Society, we just, like I said, we grow oyster mushrooms. So but down here, the minute they hear mushroom, they want to lock you up.
That's why you got to get more people growing oysters and turkey tail. And turkey tail's a great cancer fighter. The lion's mane, great for the brain. There's published studies showing it heals brain tissue, nerve endings, telomeres on the ends of nerves. Like anybody that's trauma-based, stroke-based, anything to do with the brain aspect should have that within their diet anyway.
Yes, yeah. And if they know how to grow it at home, it's even that much easier, but it's just a threat of contamination. They don't know, the process, but it's not hard to learn. And I'm not a mycologist by any means. I just learned at a building in Tucson, and I came back and I'm teaching people here so that they can learn. And I love hearing when I teach somebody, oh, I taught my cousin how to grow, or somebody, I'm like, good. So we set off these little ripples, in society when you do things, and it carries on to people you don't ever even hear who they are. But by teaching them how to grow the oysters, somebody might actually grow some psilocybe mushrooms and get the treatment they need. But before that, they didn't even know where to start, so we
and I knew nothing about mushrooms before my healing journey, other than my brother used to talk about, oh, I go and I pick pines and chanterelles, and oh, they're really good for you. But to me at that time, it was blah, blah, blah. Then I start my healing path, and it's like, oh no, turkey tail activates this in the gut. Chaga activates this. Lion's mane activates this. You combine all these mushrooms and this healing power of what happens within the gut that helps the brain. And it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, my mind was blown. Because I've grown up where it's like, the talk was, oh, those are slimy. Oh, those are yucky. Oh, they taste gross. I never tried them. I didn't know. I grew up so I never tried them. I've had fresh lion's mane now. You do a little marination, throw it on the barbecue, and cook that up and slap that in a burger and bun just like a burger. I don't do the beef thing, but that just replaces the beef for me, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And healing at the same time.
Yes. It's and then much cheaper growing it. We went to, actually, a friend of mine I taught how to grow. She initially got me involved in advocating. She invited me to the Capitol before I started my group, Louisiana Veterans for Medical Cannabis. And so I said, well, let me teach you how to grow mushrooms. So I said, go to Whole Foods, get some mushroom, lion's mane. We brought it and put it in a still air box, and then took some of the lion's mane, put it on an agar plate, and then transferred it to some grain, and then put the grain in some wood pellets that, they use in your fire pit, and then grew like a lump of lion's mane that big. But it's for 8 ounces of lion's mane, fresh lion's mane at Whole Foods, it's like $10 or something. It's like, that's just a half a pound.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I grew like two pounds of it. So I'd have had $32 of mushrooms just that one little jar of grains. And so it's a lot cheaper to grow it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that you're actually teaching people to do that. That's beautiful.
Thank you, Steve.
Because it is an art. I'm in a few groups where people grow, and a lot of people think they're going to step right in and grow themselves some beautiful mushrooms, and it is an art. You have to be clean in a lot of respects. You've got to be careful in a lot of respects. The air influences what happens. There is a learning process, but at the same time, hey, some of them grow in turds.
Yeah, we making these all-in-one grow bags at Mushroom Farmers, where you have your grain, hydrated, sterilized grain in here, and then you have cocoa coir, and you just put you spray it with alcohol. Just go right in there with a clean syringe with your liquid culture, and the mushrooms grow right inside there. You never even really open the bag until they're coming up. So it's all sterilized. So I say it's so easy, even a caveman can do it. So, I mean, you don't even have to know how to do mushroom, just know how to stick the bag and you got mushrooms.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they sell them right here near me. I actually got the guy to start, encourage him to start making them. He's got a mushroom business, and kind of coordinated with me with the Swamp Sports Society. I said, look, we need, I said, local grain and substrate, and said, if you can make these grow bags, I said, that'd make it easy. Everybody can grow with it. And I talked to him today. He said people were requesting it, so.
Yeah.
That's
Way
awesome.
to start.
So what else have you shook up down in the Louisiana area? What else you've got rattled and shaken in the cages?
Well, I have a home grow, a Heroes Rally for home grow. I got my permit for Veterans Park in Louisiana. I don't know if you can read that, Steve, but you have to apply to the Louisiana State Capitol. So back in September, on September 11th, I sent them a application, and they came back and said we could reserve Veterans Park and the Capitol steps for our rally, which we've done the last 4 years. We've done rallies over there. We get the lobby tables in the Capitol and talk to the legislators about plant medicine and cannabis. And so we had a home grow rally last year, but this year I said, well, everybody's about the heroes all the time. Oh, the heroes, yeah, the vets. Well, hey, if y'all want the vets y'all want to help the heroes, then let us grow cannabis in our house. If you're selling it for medical, then that means it's medical for us in our house, and we can grow it. It's so expensive. It's like $60 an eighth over here in Louisiana. So the people can't afford it. It can't just, certain people can, but they can't, like you were saying earlier, the ones with cancer that need the full FICO, they can't afford it. We should have, no, we don't even have FICO here. We had it in Arizona, but not in Louisiana.
Wow. Yeah, that's why things have to change, because truly that is the most healing of the oils. And the more type of strains you can grow to integrate and make that oil fuller spectrum,
yes,
the more healing it is. So when you're limiting, you're helping people die, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we should have. It's going to be great if they get it rescheduled here on the federal level, where like death doulas and that, they can go in with a big syringe of full spectrum and give them some dose of mushrooms too. I mean, it helps end life anxiety. I mean, there's all kind of benefits.
It's changed people so that they actually ended up living because they did those death doula doses.
Yes.
Well, there was a lady here in Canada. They did a documentary on her, Dosed 2. I'm not sure if you got in to watch that yet, Steve, but it's these two young fellas out in Vancouver made two different documentaries, and the second one was about this lady who was facing end of death cancer, stage 4. She had less than a year. Her and her family were devastated, so they followed her My friend Gareth was in the documentary. He was making high-end FICO oil for her. And then other mushroom specialists, sat with her with mushrooms, and she did high dose mushrooms. And her family ended up doing them as well at one point in time to help her accept and become at ease so she could enjoy the rest of her life, no matter if it was a month or 10 years. And they got her eating whole foods, good foods, taking the FICO oil on the mushrooms, and her cancer is now in remission.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What was the name of the documentary? It's on YouTube.
Well, yes, you can find it on YouTube. It's called Dosed, DOSED. There are two movies. There's the first one follows a young lady who suffers with heroin addiction, and they follow her through her trials with some of these other medicines. She works with psilocybin. It eventually lands with iboga, which is truly what helps her heal. She's also outside the movie. The movie was about that. She's also outside the movie. Again, I've ended up friends with this beautiful young lady. She works with 5-MeO as well. But she's still, this was Dosed was almost 10 years ago, 6 years ago. And she's still sober to this day. She got sober from heroin using mushrooms and iboga.
That's wonderful.
So then they did Dose 2, which is the one following the cancer.
Yes.
There's a part 2. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find it and watch it because when I have a YouTube subscription, so I don't have to forward commercials. So when I'm driving, sometime I'll put it down and listen.
Yeah. If you can't find them, reach out. I will see if I can find some links for you.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Will.
We're almost to that time, Steve.
Hey, did we make any banners?
No, I don't think we have any banners, but we could ask Tony where, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where would they do it?
They can follow the Swamp Sport Society or Louisiana Veterans for Medical Cannabis, and that's my two social media outlets. But we have Facebook events for the Swamp Sport Society, so they can just search mushrooms and or hallucinogenic.
So is it Louisiana Swamp Sport Society? I should probably have in there.
No, it's Louisiana Veterans for Medical Cannabis on Facebook, and then
I'm trying to make the banner up here. Louisiana Veterans
Medical Cannabis. And my second group, Steve, when the one I teach people how to grow mushrooms, I created was Swamp, just Swamp, not just Swamp Spore Society.
Yeah,
okay.
That's it.
Let me do this one.
There you go.
Yes.
And it's Swamp Sport Society. That's correct.
Yeah, the next one's Swamp Spore Society on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's on Facebook as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me go edit.
And all of the links are actually in the ad and on the write-up for this video. So if you are curious about any of them, you can go to the ad in the rooms, or you can go to the explanation on this video, because Tony provided us with the links to just click. So those are both in the ad and on the explanation for the video, so you can get them that way very easily.
Any last words before I do the "Hey, it's that time again" thing?
Well, I'd just like to encourage anyone listening out there that if there's some kind of legislation going through the House or Senate or Parliament or what, just send an email if you can. Just, that one email with your story, your life story about how you and you don't have to say you took the mushrooms in Louisiana or so. Just say I took them one time, and leave the location out. You want to protect yourself. So just and let them know your story, because that means so much to the legislators hearing from their constituents. So just try and help out.
Well, thank you for coming on. I'm pretty darn sure we're probably going to have you again. But it is that time. So thanks for joining us here on the Mushy Moment with my awesome co-host, Rev Cindy, myself, and our awesome guest, Tony Landry. We're proud to be coming to you live from paceradio.net. We'll see you next week. Much love.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
You're watching the 420 Pace Reroll Saturday.
And the headline there says Victoria Council renews support for VCBC amongst ongoing provincial enforcement. City Council in Victoria, BC is again calling on the provincial government to end enforcement of provincial cannabis rules against the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club. In a letter sent to BC Attorney General Nikki Sturman and Minister of Public Safety and the Solicitor General Nina Krieger, Victoria Mayor Marianne Alto asked about the reasons for enforcement actions against the VCBC in April and again in May. She wrote, I write on behalf of the Victoria City Council to inquire about the rationale for recent enforcement against the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club and to reinforce our historical support for VCBC, reads at the beginning of the letter. Now, this is not the first time that the City Council has expressed their support for the dispensary. Back in 2020, the Council had unanimously supported a call from the VCBC to seek an exemption from the province from enforcement, which the BC government rejected. Now they go on to say that raids on the VCBC store and the subsequent eviction notice from its landlord under the threat of civil forfeiture of their building makes no sense in the current environment of cannabis legality, regulation, and popular recreational use, stated Alto at another point in the letter. Now, the Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club has been operating in Victoria since the 1990s at several occasions within the city. The club has been facing ongoing enforcement by the BC Community Safety Unit following legalization in 2018, beginning with an educational visit in 2019. The VCBC is asking for a pause on provincial enforcement until a judicial review is complete. It says here that it is this judicial review that we believe will redeem the VCBC and force Health Canada to license storefront medical access that provide high-dose edibles, Ted Smith wrote in a letter. In addition to requesting that enforcement be paused, VCBC has asked that Victoria Council to lease the space it can use in the. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this toke.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp.
Yes, it is. It is time for hemp. I am your host, Casper Leach. Thank you for tuning in to the big broadcast today. And we are going to be focusing today on utilizing hemp as a building material, which a lot of people is a building material. What can you build besides a nice sandwich with like hemp bread or some kind of hemp sauce for your spaghetti? But you can do more than use hemp for food or fiber. You can also use it for, building homes. And we're going to be talking about that today. And we're going to be, don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, hit your pipes, your bongs, your vaporizers, and take time for hemp. Joining us on the big broadcast from Canada is a gentleman who's been working diligently to end cannabis prohibition in his country, Al Graham. He's got Pace Radio Network, and he is a fantastic communicator and a wonderful reporter. Al, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Just to let everybody know, PACE, People Advocating Cannabis Education, is about cannabis as well as psychedelics. We have programming 7 days a week. A new show is released each day, and everything is replayed again on Saturday, back to back. So catch us out, paceradio.net.
And we've also got a fantastic joint host from the southern part of the United States in a little state called Florida, and that is Al Byrd. He's also a writer of a pretty groovy book that you might want to pick up sometime called For Country and Cannabis. Hey, Al Byrd.
Gentlemen, nice to see you guys. And yes, I am in Florida, and I am glad I am because everybody else in this country is cold, and I'm actually quite comfortable. So I made a good decision coming here. But yeah, we're talking hemp today, which is, of course, cannabis. And the book I wrote there for Country and Cannabis discusses hemp. And I think you should read it if you have any kind of interest at all. And if you're a patient, if you're a caregiver, if you're interested in the history of the movement, if you're interested in the details of, for instance, of why should I use cannabis? Well, just it kills cancer cells. So let's start there. And the book is full of all the references you need to back all that kind of stuff up. But we're talking hemp, and yeah, I bring hemp into the book, but I also want to point out another book. I think I'm making that one clear. Cannabis
and medical practice.
Yeah. This is a book that I did not write. I produced in 1997. And actually, it was the only book referenced in the 2001 Institute of Medicine's study on cannabis. and there's a story around all that. But I bring up that title because it's still in print, and in there is 2 excellent chapters about hemp grown for food, and hemp grown for, among other things, construction materials.
Cool.
So I just want to tell you that this conversation's been around for a while, and hey, 1997, I was talking it. You know what I mean? So it's going to be fun to do that today. Our guest is a peripatetic individual. And as such, we've cornered him in North Carolina and on the West Coast, and he's headed out to New Zealand soon. And we've had him before as a guest. Quite interesting man. We're going to talk a lot about his idea of creating houses for veterans and the elderly. And so I may introduce, please, Greg Flabel.
G'day. Oh,
Greg, the hemp guy. Okay, I forgot that part. He's the hemp guy. And you're on the West Coast right now, aren't you, Greg?
I am indeed. Yeah, I'm sitting in little old Southern Oregon in Medford, which is like the extension to the Emerald Triangle from Northern California.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's also a beautiful area.
What's your latest project? What are you working on, Greg?
So we're working on basically we do everything with the plant. I mean, we do. I mean, Al mentioned earlier about food and fuel and everything else, but the 5 tenets for us are food, fuel, shelter, clothing, and health, all designed around the cannabis sativa L plant, and as well as the health and wellness. All the products that we make and consume and help other people with. And it's just right across the board. We do, our initiative for our Hemptown on Main 501c3 is to help homeless veterans and seniors. I'm noticing even in my own travels, locally, a lot more seniors ending up on the street. And really in this economy, it's been spiraling down for some time, in my opinion. A lot of people are like one paycheck away or 1 month away from being homeless. And the medical bills are mounting, and pressures of regular everyday food on the table is increasing. I think that, with our agricultural materials, we can help with alleviating that issue with housing. We have designed some modular units. I think I've spoken about these before, that were designed around 4x8 sheets of plywood and OSB for making some homeless shelters. And these are modular. We don't have to do permits with them, up to 200 square feet. They're portable. They can be taken down again. But in our case, they wouldn't be, because we build them on site using hemp and other agricultural waste materials. So we've kind of morphed from that picture you've got up there. That was the first permitted hemp house in America, done on Town Mountain in Asheville, North Carolina.
That's beautiful.
We did
that. That's a cool house, man.
Yeah, 2008, 2009. And we built that house for $133 a square foot using recycled cement, recycled steel, recycled windows and doors. We carted, there was 3,000 feet up on the side of a mountain. We had to make the road to put the house in. And we, when the owner converted from a construction loan to a 30-year, it went from 133 to $240 a square foot in terms of valuation. And we also, to this day, we still get up to 30% discount on the fire insurance, because the stuff just does not burn. I mean, it will eventually, but it'll take a long, long time. So the doors and the windows will blow out before the hempcrete walls do. So it makes it a lot safer. And we get even in New Zealand, where I built my own house with hemp many, many years ago, we still get a 30% discount or around about 30% discount on the fire insurance.
Nice.
What do you use for a roof?
Roofing, just regular roofing materials. Usually I'm using
Tin
standing
or
standing seam metal roofing.
Yeah, metal roofing. No, I was thinking along with the high. I live in a very prone fire area, and metal roof is almost a requirement where I live. So I'm thinking, yeah, you got a metal roof and a hemp structure.
Yep.
You're you're not fireproof, but you're damn close to it.
Well, it's fire retardant, we should say, because lime, just to put it in a bit more technical layman's language, if you like, the cellulose, which is the lime and the wood or whatever we're using as the insulation, it's got to be protected. So the lime binder that we're using is actually the protecting homogeneous security for the cellulose. And lime itself is inherently carrying moisture. And so it's your wall system that we make is always going to have some sort of moisture in it, but it's vapor permeable. So when the heat hits it, think about something. When heat hits us, we sweat. When heat from a fire hits the lime, it's sweating. So it's driving off moisture. So that's the actual layman's terms retardancy in the hempcrete, right? Just to put it in a bit more perspective. So because if you put a match to hemp, stalks, they're gonna fire up. But if you've encased that cellulose in some protection, like the lime, which is a natural material and it's available right across the planet, every country has huge, build up millions of years of calcium crustaceans for limestone. And that's essentially what we're using to protect the cellulose. And in the I-wood structures that we're building, we're using 30% less lumber as it is. And then those wood shavings we can turn into cooking pellets, heating, and we also put some of those back into the mix to make the biocrete. So we've gone from, and it depends on which country we're talking to about building. We're using sugar cane waste and coconut waste in Mexico and South America.
Interesting.
So we're making, we make sugarcrete, cococrete, biocrete is kind of the generic name I'm coining to it, because we can take a lot of different agricultural waste material and put it in there and protect it with the lime binder. And now you've got a solid wall. I mean, man, back in Eastern Europe and the Roman times, they used horse crap and horsehair and straw, and they would make adobe kind of infill, right? Same sort of principle, and that stuff it takes a long time to burn too. So it's the same sort of thermal mass and thermal conductivity all wrapped into one material to build a house that also you're going to be healthy living in, because the lime itself carries a pH of about 8.4. And so while you're exhaling inside your home, breathing, exhaling, you're putting out CO2, and the walls are saying, gimme, 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 and they're fossilizing. And so over a long period of time, those hempcrete or biocrete walls are going to fossilize and turn to rock.
Well, how easy is it to find this type of material in the United States and or New Zealand? Do you have to make it, have it specially made? Can you walk into Home Depot and get it?
You won't be able to walk. That's a great question, Casper, and I wish it was so that you could walk in and buy it off the shelf at Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace Hardware or whatever, but it just is not the reality. The cortication or the processing equipment to strip away the fiber, which makes my shirt, from the inside cellulosic pithy part of the plant, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of heavy equipment to do that, and to make it financially viable, unless you're producing or unless you have the capacity to produce around 4 metric tons per hour, you're not going to make any money anytime soon, right? And there's a lot of smaller operations for if you're doing it yourself. Yes, you can buy these rollers that you can grow a couple acres of hemp and decorticate it yourself. You run over it a few times with your tractor or your SUV, and you'll break up the inside part of the plant, and you can use that, mix it with some lime, and bada bing, away you go. It's not really rocket science. I mean, I remember, 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, when we built the first places in North Carolina, I thought, man, I've discovered something that's better than sliced ham, and I'm going to corner the market on bio building. Hempcrete, man, I brought it back from England. We built building the first houses. I'm going to corner the market with hempcrete. Well, that got because it comes down. It was more expensive because of the processing around the plant. It's hard to get that waste material into a state that you can actually use it commercially. And so that's been a hard slog, over many years.
Well, while you're at many years, can I bring a question at you here? You made the first house there that we saw, the beautiful house you had a picture of, in 2006.
No. That was 2009. We started that house.
Okay, all right. So my question is, and I don't know what I'm talking about, but I understand that in Europe, constructions of some rather large buildings, maybe France, that have this been going on over there for
correct. Yep, Al, you're spot on, and that's where I learned it, because I was in West LA doing a kitchen remodel for some friends of mine, and the wife was doing her law degree, and her thesis was on hemp, the miracle plant of the future. And I said, hemp? What the bollocks is hemp? And all of a sudden, she presents me with this thick, thesis that she's doing. I'm reading all about it, and then I read The Emperor Wears No Clothes and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, man, this is great. I ended up in England, going to the decortication facility and meeting some farmers, and then going on some builds and actually doing some stuff. And then thought, I'm going to bring this back to the US. So that's how we started back in North Carolina. But to your point, Al, yeah, they have for 20 years prior, they've been using hemp waste in France, Germany, in different countries, even in the Netherlands, for building. But mostly in France, they've been doing it. In fact, I had the rare privilege and honor of visiting a two-story hemp house in the old part of Paris, France.
Mm-hmm.
That had suffered a house fire, a full-on house blaze. Everything except the 4 hempcrete walls was blown out. Even some of the